Medical Marijuana Act. Overwhelmingly, patients in the Medical Marijuana Act are doing their best, their level best, to be law-abiding in what is a complex set of laws. That's, you know, so I just wanted to add that. I get that it's from their perspective, that's what they see, but in the same way that the diversion from the growers down here is small compared with the plantations that are going on in the federal lands, so too is the illegal patient or grower activity, a really small percentage of what's going on.
Tim, both you and Erik were shaking your heads a minute ago.
Lead's access, no, that's not in there.
Well, again, it's a yes or no. We don't get a pending. A pending is a hand search done by OMMP. You have to talk to a live body and request that they search the pending applications. I think, in fact, I was told today by a grower that he was told recently that they're about 4 months behind. Okay, that's a problem. That's a problem for law enforcement, because if a patient and a grower register a grow site or they move a grow site and we get information 2 weeks later that it's an illegal grow site and we check and OMMP doesn't have information on that grow site, it's illegal. And how do we do enforcement? We do it wearing bullet resistant equipment, Kevlar helmets, we carry guns. We go in because that's what we need to do to be safe. And if you are taking this enforcement activity on somebody that should be in the system but isn't, you put law enforcement in a bad way, you put the patients in a bad way. You know, that's part of the statute. You know, that once they apply and they've sent their application off by snail mail, they're as good as being in the system until they receive either an approval or a denial from OMMP. That lag time is a huge issue for law enforcement.
That is big, the lag time, and also because the number of applications that are coming in, they can't handle the numbers that are coming in right now. Numbers. And again, the misnomer out there is the public might think that law enforcement gets a list of where these grow sites are. That is not true. It's simply verification. We have to call. We have to provide the information, and we get the yes or no. And
I would like to add. Well, I'd like to add to that. If I get information on 123 South Smith Street in Yorktown, Oregon, and it's in the system as 123 North Street, it's a no, because it's a yes or a no question. So if I don't know the exact address, it's a no. That's a problem, because statute doesn't require that you submit an actual address when you register a grow site.
Okay, we're about halfway through the time we have allotted for this evening. We would like to get out of here around 9 o'clock tonight, so I'm going to ask for everybody to think concise when you get up to the microphones. And I apologize to the folks waiting at the microphones. We have one online question from the Mail Tribune's live blog here.
We have a couple of online questions, but I'll ask this one real quick. And I think this is for Lee, and this could be a very quick answer, I think. If the measure passes, how does one pay the $2,000 or $1,000 for a dispense and or provider license? Is it to DHS? Do they do the vetting?
Yes, it's to the Department of Human Services, and that's the kind of thing that hopefully can fund this gap in the application times. I mean, again, I'm surprised and disappointed that law enforcement isn't more supportive of 74, because it can address the problem that Erik and Tim were just talking about.
Audience question here, please.
Yeah.
Name and hometown, please.
Oh, I live in my car. Sometimes I'm in Ashland, sometimes I'm in town, sometimes I'm in Phoenix, sometimes I'm on the road. Anyhow, I just live in my car. Anyway, I have chronic pain syndrome, and it's very painful. I don't take drugs for it. I really don't like drugs, so I live with constant pain. And I'm a gardener. And this is for Leslie. And the situation in California, the way it is right now, being a gardener and being in chronic pain all the time, I could see down the road some hope for my condition, not only as a gardener, but also feeling better and being able to do the work that I am capable of doing, lifting, doing different things that I right now can't do much of anything. How is that addressed in California the way things are? Can I be a grower, and can I be taking what I grow, and which would be very tiny. It's not like I want to do a lot. And I know that I could make money doing it, but I don't know that I'm capable of doing a lot. But it would be very good for me down the road to say, I can grow this and I can dispense it into a dispensary, but also know that I can be alleviating my own pain. And that's pretty much basic to me, like any other wild herb.
In California, medical marijuana patients can grow without limit. There used to be a 6 and 12 plant limitation the legislature came up with a bill, and through a unanimous decision and the California Supreme Court, they said that there is no limits, no plant limit or possession limit. It's what you feel you could defend in court if you were to be arrested for trying to sell it. You could. What your physician thinks is medically necessary. Or what your physician, if your physician writes a limit down, some of them don't, some of them do.
And there's precedents set. You can find those in law books. You can see where the precedents have been set.
Correct, but you can possess it, you can grow it, you can open a dispensary and dispense it in California.
Thanks for the question. Next person, sir, your name and hometown, please.
My name is David, and I live here in Ashland. My question, I approach this table as a proponent of the free market, and it seems to me that this regulation that's being proposed, it doesn't seem to support that. And what I mean by that is, my understanding...
David, could you tilt the microphone up to you? Thank you.
My understanding is that currently, as the gentleman said, we're looking at $3,000 a pound or $2,100 today. My question is, once this law is passed, how will that change the pricing? Is that going to lower the price? And my concern really is patients now have a great selection to choose from. That's my understanding anyway. And they're able to choose and figure out what exactly works for them. Now, once this happens, is it going to diminish that, is my concern.
How much is it sold for right now in California? At the dispensary level?
$3,000 a pound is what growers are looking to sell for right now.
I expect that it'll be less in Oregon because in California, the growers don't have any protection, by and large. And in Oregon, growers would be licensed producers. And I think the free market would set the price. And I don't know why you think that the reason that there's a need for this initiative is that patients don't have access, let alone access to a broad array of different kinds. And that's the kind of thing that'll happen at a dispensary where, I don't know, Leslie, at your dispensary, would you describe the kinds of things that you sell?
Like you said, we have medicine of different kinds and different flavors. There's also edibles for people that have lung ailments or they prefer to consume their medicine through, eating brownies. We also have tinctures. There's people that just want to put a little dropper full under their tongue or in their tea in the evening to help them sleep. So there's a variety of ways people can consume medicine.
And so, sorry, quickly, so then my next question has to do with interstate. Let's say I'm traveling to California or some other state that does have medical marijuana laws on the books. Am I allowed to travel with my medicine?
Would you be protected where you wind up, do you mean?
Correct.
No.
Okay.
Well, that's not entirely true. The Montana, Rhode Island, Michigan, Colorado has a reciprocity law? I don't think so. I don't think so. Right. So it's just those 3 states have it written in. It's a thing that advocates are hopeful may come out of the next legislative session here. I lost a case in the Court of Appeals that changed the law, however. California patients can now register in Oregon. But in terms of the protection that you have, and my experience is that when patients are traveling with small quantities, once the local folks in the foreign medical marijuana jurisdiction, get the document from the Department of Human Services, typically charges are dismissed, but they often don't return the medicine to you.
David, thank you. Next question, please.
Oh, just as far as price goes, the RAND study for Prop 19 said it could go as low as $38 an ounce. Doesn't work? Oh, there it is.
That works.
Yeah, it could go as low as $38 an ounce.
And that's the RAND study you mentioned?
In California,
Yeah.
post Prop 19,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Sir, name and hometown question?
My name is Dr. Mark Greenberg, and I have a chronic pain practice here in Ashland. So I treat patients with chronic pain on a daily basis and do that for a living. I just wanted to make a few comments and clarify something that was stated previously about the science of medical cannabis. Just as background, I don't fill out medical marijuana cards. I don't advocate either for or against medical marijuana. However, I would say that the science certainly is not clear. Recent large-scale studies under the auspices of the NIH have not shown much analgesic benefit for cannabis or THC. However, there's certainly a tremendous amount of anecdotal information from patients that it is helpful, and so I don't mean to, denigrate the possibility that it does have some therapeutic benefit, but I would certainly not make the statement that the science is overwhelmingly clear and an important medication is being denied to patients. The second comment that I would like to make is I see approximately 30 to 40 chronic pain patients every day of the week, and I see the whole gamut of medical marijuana use. As an example, I saw a 22-year-old patient just yesterday that had a very minor tendon strain and was on the medical marijuana program and clearly abusing the system. The other side of that is I see patients with severe debilitating chronic pain problems that do obtain benefits. So I think that there's a whole gamut. And just as a pain practitioner who sort of takes the back step to medical marijuana, I think that perhaps stronger regulation of the whole program would benefit patients, doctors, and law enforcement.
All right, Mark, thanks for that perspective. So we're moving over here. Bob?
I have another online question here. This is a question for Tim George or Erik Fisher. If you could rewrite Measure 74, what would it say? I guess basically what, if you could make some significant change in 74, what would that be?
Well, I wouldn't rewrite 74 to begin with, but if I had to, and he was my attorney.
If you had to.
So we were talking before about there needs to be a regulated supply system. This isn't it.
Right.
I think the question is, what would you suggest?
I mean, I would agree that there needs to be a controlled supply system, and I don't think that law enforcement is anti-supply system for those folks that need it, okay? And we would agree with that. The widespread abuse of the OMMP program really flies in the face of that, and I would say that if we could get it to a Schedule II nationwide, I don't know if you can do that or not, but Oregon did. You could get to a Schedule II where it could be prescribed and under the Oregon Pharmacy Board, and you could prescribe it, and it wouldn't be that expensive if you're going to pay $300 an ounce or $3,000 a pound for it right now in a dispensary level. I'm absolutely convinced you could sell it much cheaper than that at the pharmacy level, and you could even cover it under certain medical programs for pharmaceuticals. So I would propose that if you are going to call it medicine, then you need to treat it as such. You need to put it into a pharmacy, and that's how you need to control it.
Sir in the red shirt.
William Tippin from Grants Pass. As we've already addressed tonight, the state of Oregon doesn't have the proper budget or infrastructure to really deal with if this measure passes. Is that correct, Mr. George?
That's my opinion.
Okay.
And I get to say that tonight. So.
Well, let's get the numbers on the table. Oregon's looking at a $3.2 billion shortfall in the next biennium. So do the math from there.
What I'm worried about is if this measure passes, are we going to is it going to cause too much of a problem because of the lack of infrastructure and budget that has caused a backlash against the quote-unquote progression of legalization of marijuana? Do you think if this passes without the state being ready for it, that the populace or law enforcement is going to be, well, this isn't worth it, and shit can the whole thing, pardon my French.
Sitting next to you is Jim Clark. He's the chair of the advisory committee. He can answer that question.
Yeah, Jim, would you come up to the microphone and
would you describe what information you have about the Department of Human Services and their getting ready for this change, and to the extent that you can? I mean, the question is, how are they going to do this if they're in the hole? And
Well, it's true the state is